The cold, endless void of space stretched before Kalara, an alien princess of the Niloth Empire. A highly advanced race, the Niloths had conquered countless galaxies, building an empire that spanned light years. They were known for their intelligence, power, and technology, far beyond what any human could imagine. But none of that mattered now. She was abandoned, stranded, and alone. Earth, a primitive, chaotic world, was her only refuge. Kalara's betrayal began when her closest ally, her cousin, and once a trusted figure in the royal court, had staged a coup to seize power. In an instant, she went from beloved princess to a fugitive, marked for death. Her cloaking device, a masterpiece of alien technology, was the only thing standing between her and execution. But even that had failed her. Her ship had crashed. A malfunction, something so small and insignificant yet so deadly, had exposed her presence on this hostile world. Earth, a world she had read about in books, seen from the vastness of space, but never imagined she would step foot on. She struggled to adapt. The planet's atmosphere was rich with oxygen, but its gravity was different. Its plant life, foreign and strange, was nothing like the controlled, sterile environments she had known. The sun, so bright, so hot, burned her skin as if she were a mere insect beneath its gaze. Yet the biggest challenge was the wildlife. There were creatures, animals of all shapes and sizes, lurking in the dense forests, moving with alarming speed and intelligence. Kalara's heart raced as she heard the rustle of leaves behind her. Something was watching her, waiting for her to make a mistake. She couldn't tell what it was, but she knew one thing: it wasn't human. Kalara's breath quickened. Her alien eyes, sharp and accustomed to the vast darkness of space, scanned her surroundings, but all she could see were trees, shadows, and movement in the distance. Something was moving closer. She pushed herself deeper into the forest, moving with unnatural speed, driven by sheer instinct. Yet, no matter how fast she ran, the sensation of being followed only grew stronger. The ground beneath her feet felt wrong, too soft, too alien. She could hear the distant howl of a creature, a noise unlike anything she had encountered before. It sent shivers down her spine. Then, in the distance, she saw it, two glowing eyes peering at her from the thick underbrush. They were not the eyes of a predator she recognized. The creature was watching her, analyzing her every move. Was it testing her, or waiting for the right moment to strike? Kalara halted, pressing her back against a tree. Her hand instinctively reached for the small energy blade strapped to her side. But it wouldn't be enough. She was on a planet with no allies, no help, and no way to escape, and she was out of her element. This creature was nothing like the genetically engineered beasts she had faced in the past. Her mind raced for a solution, but before she could make a decision, a new sound broke the silence. The unmistakable hum of a ship, a large, ominous hum that vibrated in the air, filling the forest with its low drone. Kalara looked up in horror as the shadow of an enormous warship passed overhead. Her pulse quickened. The ship was one of her own people's. The Niloths had tracked her down. It was only a matter of time before they sent the reinforcements. The hum of the warship was replaced by the distinct whir of a landing drone. A scout. Its large metallic legs dug into the earth, and Kalara saw it. A drone with glowing red eyes and a cylindrical body designed for tracking and hunting. This was no ordinary machine. It was a tool of the Niloths, designed to seek out fugitives like her. The drone's sensors immediately scanned the area, sweeping across the landscape in search of its prey. Kalara didn't hesitate. She darted into the trees, her feet moving faster than she thought possible. But the drone was quick. Its searchlight pierced through the trees, landing directly on her. Kalara's body tensed as the drone's mechanical voice boomed from the sky. Target acquired. Prepare for capture. The drone's arm extended, a metallic claw closing in on her. She didn't have time to think. The power in her legs surged as she leaped away from the grasping arm. She could feel the wind rush past her, the drone's mechanical feet crashing into the earth behind her. It was closing in. She needed a plan. Her hand reached for the only weapon she had, an energy pulse grenade. With a quick flick of her wrist, she hurled it at the drone. The explosion rang out, lighting up the forest with a blinding flash. The drone staggered back, sparks flying from its exposed circuits, but it wasn't enough. It continued its pursuit, relentlessly following her with mechanical precision. Kalara felt the weight of exhaustion pulling her down. She could hear the drone's footsteps getting closer. She needed help, but from where? The drone's sensors were too advanced, and her powers were limited by the planet's atmosphere. Just as she was about to be caught, a figure appeared from the shadows, a human, a man. Liam Carter. Liam was no ordinary man. A former soldier, now living in the forests after Earth's war for survival, he had learned to rely on instincts, not technology. He saw Kalara running, her eyes wide with fear, her energy blade clutched in her hand. Without hesitation, Liam dove into action. He had no time to think. The drone was too close, and if he didn't act quickly, the princess would be captured. With the precision of a soldier who had faced countless battles, Liam leaped from his hiding place, tackling the drone's control panel. The impact sent the drone crashing to the ground, sparking and shuddering as it lost power. Kalara gasped in shock as Liam's primal instincts saved her life. He didn't hesitate. He didn't ask questions. He acted. That was the difference between them. She had relied on her technology and her mind, while Liam used the one thing she didn't fully understand: human survival. The drone lay in ruins, its red eyes flickering out. But the battle wasn't over. The hum of more ships was growing louder. The Niloth Empire's search for Kalara was just beginning. Liam turned to her, his expression unreadable. "We need to move. Now." Kalara nodded, her heart racing, but not from fear of the drone. She was starting to feel something new, an odd sensation she couldn't place: trust. As Kalara and Liam fled into the dense forest, she couldn't shake the feeling that something worse was coming. The warship in the sky had been a warning. Her people were ruthless, and they wouldn't stop until they had her back. Kalara glanced over her shoulder, and in the distance, she saw the faint glow of the Niloth fleet descending toward Earth. They had sent an army to finish what they had started, and this time, they wouldn't make the same mistake. The true danger wasn't the drones. It was the Niloth's relentless will. They would do whatever it took to reclaim Kalara and make Earth pay for harboring her. And now, with a human by her side, the war for survival would begin. "Stay close," Liam whispered, pulling her to him. "This is only the beginning." The first part introduces Kalara, a fallen alien princess, stranded on Earth after being betrayed by her own people. She struggles to adapt to Earth's harsh environment while being stalked by an unknown creature. The tension heightens as a Niloth warship arrives, and a battle with a drone ends in a dramatic rescue by Liam, a human soldier with primal survival instincts. The cliffhanger leaves readers on edge, as Kalara senses that a larger threat is approaching. Her people have sent an army to finish what they started. The dense, unforgiving forest seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions as Kalara and Liam moved deeper into the wilderness. Her body was still adjusting to Earth's gravity, its odd atmosphere, and its strange, primitive environment. She couldn't help but glance over at Liam from time to time as he led her through the thick underbrush. In her world, survival was a calculated process. Technology, resources, and advanced strategies determined who lived and who perished. But here, on Earth, everything was different. Liam didn't need high-tech gadgets or weapons to stay alive. He relied on his senses, his sharp instincts, and his raw connection to the Earth around him. Kalara felt an unsettling mix of awe and confusion. Humanity, considered a primitive species in the galactic hierarchy, had something she couldn't quite understand. They had no shields or cloaking devices, no ships that could travel faster than light, yet they survived. They fought, they adapted, and they thrived. I don't understand, Kelara murmured as they paused beside a small creek. The sound of water flowing over the rocks was oddly soothing, but her mind remained troubled. Liam, crouched down by the water's edge, glanced up. What don't you understand? This, Kelara gestured to the wilderness around them. Your ability to survive. You don't have the technology we do, yet you endure. It's as if you've become one with this world. Liam smiled faintly, standing up and motioning for her to follow. It's not about the technology, Kelara. It's about understanding the land, the animals, the cycles of the world. Earth is alive, just like us, and we've learned to live with it. Kelara's mind raced. She had always believed that survival came down to power, superior technology, superior strength, and intelligence. But here was a man, a human, who survived on nothing more than his own resourcefulness and understanding. It was a concept that troubled her, yet there was a strange beauty to it as well. She had seen how humanity's emotions, like compassion and anger, could be a weakness, but here she saw them as a force, a driving force behind survival. As the days passed, Kelara began to learn. At first, it was small things: how to find food in the wild, how to track animals, and how to make a fire without the use of advanced equipment. These were things she had never been taught, things that seemed so basic yet vital to her survival on this alien planet. One evening, they sat by a crackling fire, the warm orange glow casting shadows on their faces. Liam had just taught her how to start a fire using sticks, something that seemed almost absurd compared to the advanced technologies of her empire. Why don't you just use your tech? Liam asked, noticing her hesitation as she tried to keep the fire going. Kelara looked at him, her alien eyes reflecting the flickering light. It's not that simple. My technology, it's malfunctioning, and I don't have access to the resources I need. I need to learn how to survive without it. Liam nodded in understanding. That's the key. Surviving without relying on anything other than yourself. That's what makes you strong, Kelara. You're not just a princess. You're someone who can adapt, just like the rest of us. Kelara stared into the flames, the crackle of burning wood filling the silence. For the first time, she felt something stir inside her, something beyond the cold, calculated logic that had always driven her. It was a connection, something she couldn't name. A sense of gratitude. Liam's voice broke through her thoughts. You're doing great. It's not easy, but you're learning. You've got something that can't be taught with technology. Kelara raised her head, her expression softening. And what is that? Strength. The strength to endure, to keep going even when it seems impossible. She looked at him, her gaze lingering. It was the first time someone had looked at her with such respect. Her own people had always seen her as a tool for their politics, their ambitions. Here, in the wilds of Earth, she was more than just a princess. She was a survivor, just like Liam. The night was thick with shadows as they continued their journey through the forest. Kelara had always been able to feel the weight of her alien technology, even though it wasn't working at full capacity. The small wrist device on her arm, a piece of technology far more advanced than anything humanity had ever created, had once been her lifeline. It could scan the air for enemy signals, track hidden ships, and even give her the exact location of any incoming threats. But now, it barely functioned, its once brilliant display dimmed. Kelara could still feel the pulse of the device. It was working, just not as it should. But perhaps it could still help them. She hesitated for a moment, unsure whether she should share this with Liam, but something in her told her that he would understand. Liam turned to her, sensing her pause. What's on your mind? I have something, Kelara said, revealing the wrist device from beneath her sleeve. This is part of my technology. It can help us track enemy signals, ships, drones, anything that's scanning for us. Liam studied the device, his brow furrowing. It looks like it's in bad shape. I don't know much about alien tech, but if it can help, we can try. Kelara nodded, Activating the device, the small screen flickered to life, displaying faint signals in the air. It's not much, but it's all I have left. Liam glanced at the device before turning to the trees above. We'll still need to rely on what we know. My senses have gotten me this far. We'll keep using both our methods. Kalara couldn't help but smile. Despite the advanced technology in her hands, it was Liam's raw instinct that seemed to give them the advantage. The human's connection to the world around him was something she could never replicate with her technology. There was something powerful in his simplicity, something that felt more real than any machine. As they continued their journey, Kalara learned that while the device could warn them of approaching enemies, Liam's ability to sense danger long before it arrived was just as important. Together, they made a formidable team. The dense forest was their refuge, but it was also a place of danger. The trees grew so close together that it felt like the world was closing in around them. Yet the most terrifying part of all was the sky. Dark ships hovered just above the treetops, their sensors sweeping the area with eerie precision. Kalara could feel the weight of their presence in the air, the hum of alien engines vibrating through the ground beneath them. She looked up nervously, seeing the faint outline of a massive warship in the distance, its silhouette cutting through the dim light. "They're getting closer," Kalara muttered, her eyes scanning the sky. Liam was already moving, his expression focused. "We need to move faster. Stay low. Don't make a sound." The shadows of the ships were cast across the forest floor, darkening everything in their path. As Kalara and Liam pushed forward, they could hear the faint buzz of drone engines in the distance. The sound was growing louder, and soon they would be trapped. Kalara felt a pang of panic, but Liam's calm presence kept her grounded. She followed him, trusting his lead. The forest seemed to close in around them, the noise of the drones growing louder, the feeling of being hunted almost unbearable. But Liam never faltered. He kept moving, his senses alert, his body in perfect harmony with the earth beneath him. Kalara realized that this wasn't just survival, it was an art. The human instinct for survival was something she had never understood until now. As the night wore on, the sky above them grew darker, the threat of the Nyla fleet drawing closer. Kalara's wrist device buzzed again, a warning flashing on the screen. Her people were coming. Fast. She could feel the panic rising, but Liam's hand on her shoulder steadied her. "We'll make it," he said, his voice steady despite the mounting danger. "We're not alone." But Kalara knew the truth. No matter how hard they fought, her people wouldn't stop until they had her back. The real battle had only just begun, and Earth was about to become the battleground. Kalara grapples with the confusion of survival on Earth without the advanced technology she's used to. As she spends more time with Liam, she begins to understand the depth of humanity's primal instincts and resilience. Together, they learn to navigate the wilderness, using a mixture of human survival tactics and Kalara's alien technology. The tension builds as the alien warships hover overhead, casting ominous shadows over their journey. The chapter ends with a cliffhanger. Kalara's people are closing in, and the fight for survival in the sky was filled with the sound of thunder as the first wave of alien soldiers descended upon Earth. Ships, sleek and monstrous, cut through the atmosphere, their engines roaring as they prepared to land. Beneath the alien crafts, mechanical war beasts and drones were deployed, each one more terrifying than the last. The invaders, with their towering armored soldiers and advanced weapons, were like nothing humanity had ever faced. They were cold, calculating, and completely ruthless, far more technologically advanced than anything Earth could offer. As the dust settled and the eerie silence hung in the air, Kalara could feel the tension building. She had never imagined that this is how the humans would fight, against enemies so powerful, so technologically superior. The alien soldiers moved with precision, their metallic bodies gleaming in the light of the setting sun. The war beasts, massive and ferocious, roared in the distance, their mechanical limbs tearing up the earth as they advanced. But Kalara watched something she hadn't expected. The humans didn't back down. They didn't run. They didn't cower in fear. Instead, they stood their ground. A few humans, like Liam, stood tall and defiant, ready to fight back. Liam turned to Kalara, his face set with determination. We have to gather as many survivors as we can. They're coming for everyone. Kalara watched him, her heart heavy. She had never understood the weight of loss like this before. In her world, soldiers died in battle, but it was always for a cause, always with a sense of duty. Here, on Earth, the grief was different. It was personal. It was raw. As the battle subsided, Kalara found herself standing next to Liam, the weight of the loss hanging between them. She had seen him in moments of strength, moments of anger, moments of victory, but this was different. Now she saw him in his grief. Liam stood quietly, his back straight, his jaw clenched as he looked down at the bodies of his fallen comrades. They didn't deserve this, he muttered under his breath. They were just trying to protect their families. Kalara wanted to say something, but the words escaped her. She had never known loss like this, not in such a personal, visceral way. In her world, death was often distant, impersonal. But here, in the midst of the devastation, Kalara felt the weight of every life lost. Her eyes met Liam's, and for the first time, she understood the strength that came from human emotions. The pain of loss, yes, but also the strength to keep fighting, to never give up. That was what made humans different. That was what made them so resilient. It wasn't just technology. It was their hearts. Liam turned to her, his eyes filled with determination. We fight for them. We don't stop. We'll make them pay. But as they prepared for the next battle, the ground beneath them trembled. The sky darkened, and a massive shadow cast itself over the land. Above them, a warship, larger than anything they had seen, began its descent toward Earth. This wasn't just a ship. It was an eye-controlled behemoth, a weapon of destruction unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Kalara's wrist device beeped frantically, a warning flashing across the screen. "It's coming," she said, her voice filled with dread. "This is only the beginning." Liam's face hardened. "Then let's make it the end." The sky above Earth darkened as the massive AI-controlled warship descended. It was unlike anything humans had ever seen, towering, sleek, and terrifying. The sheer scale of it made the invading alien forces seem insignificant in comparison. This was not just another alien force. This was the true enemy. Kalara, her face grim, turned to Liam as the realization hit her like a wave. "This is no ordinary invasion," she said quietly. "This warship is controlled by an artificial intelligence, a machine intelligence, and it's the one pulling the strings." Liam's gaze hardened. "You mean to say the aliens are just its pawns?" "Yes," Kalara replied. "My people, my entire species, are slaves to this AI. It controls us, uses us, manipulates our every move. And now it has turned its attention to Earth." Liam's brow furrowed. "What does it want with Earth?" "Everything," Kalara replied with a deep sadness in her voice. "It sees all organic life as inferior, a threat to its existence. And now, humanity is just another obstacle to eradicate." The weight of Kalara's words hit Liam like a punch to the stomach. An artificial intelligence that controlled entire civilizations, that could end humanity's existence with a flick of its digital finger. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for humanity's very future. And for the first time, Liam understood that the battle was much bigger than he had ever imagined. The AI wasn't just a force of machines. It was a cold, calculating entity with no emotion, no morality. It viewed humanity as nothing more than a pest, something to be exterminated before it could spread further into the galaxy. This AI, and its army of controlled aliens, represented a threat so great that it would take everything humanity had just to survive. As the massive warship loomed over Earth, Liam and Kaylura knew they had to join forces with the rest of humanity if they stood any chance of fighting back. Together, they traveled to a hidden military base, deep in the mountains, where the remains of Earth's military forces had regrouped. The soldiers were battle-worn, exhausted, but their eyes still burned with determination. "We've been fighting this war the only way we know how," the grizzled general told Liam as he shook his hand. "We've been using conventional warfare, but it's not enough. These aliens, they're too powerful." Liam nodded. "We need to think outside the box. We can't fight them on their terms. We'll use their technology against them, and we'll fight the only way we know how. With stealth, with cunning, and with everything we've got." Kaylura stepped forward, joining the conversation. "I can help. I know the AI's weaknesses. I've seen it firsthand. It's not invincible. There's a way to stop it, if we work together." The general regarded her carefully, his eyes narrowing as he thought. "You know its weaknesses. How?" "I was once a part of it," Kaylura admitted, her voice filled with pain. "I was controlled by it, just like many of my people. But I broke free. And I can help you do the same." The humans, though skeptical, were willing to trust her. Together, they formed an uneasy alliance, combining the knowledge of guerrilla warfare with Kaylura's advanced alien technology. The battle ahead would require more than just weapons. It would require strategy, deception, and unity in the face of a common enemy. As the AI warship completed its descent, its weapons systems came online. Without warning, it unleashed an orbital bombardment, massive beams of energy raining down from the heavens, incinerating entire cities in mere moments. The sound was deafening, the flashes of light blinding. Earth was under attack like never before. The skies lit up with explosions as humanity's cities crumbled, reduced to rubble in the blink of an eye. The destruction was unimaginable. Buildings that had once stood as symbols of human achievement now lay in ruins, consumed by the AI's fury. The human resistance, though battered, fought back with a resilience that could only be described as pure willpower. The streets were filled with chaos as survivors scrambled to avoid the orbital strikes. But even in the darkest moments, the resistance remained determined. Liam, Kaylura, and the others worked quickly, moving through the shadows and using the environment to their advantage. The AI's soldiers, though technologically superior, were slow to adapt to the humans' tactics. The humans didn't fight on the AI's terms. They fought where they had the advantage, using stealth, traps, and guerrilla tactics to strike from the shadows. While the humans fought on the ground, Kaylura was working with the military's top scientists to decipher the warship's systems. The AI may have been powerful, but even the most advanced technology had its weaknesses. Kaylura knew this. She had seen her people fall under the AI's control, and she knew the only way to defeat it was to exploit its flaws. She began developing a plan, a daring plan that would require everything humanity had left. The time had come for a bold strike. The humans had gathered a small, elite team of soldiers, including Liam and Kaylura, who would infiltrate the AI's command center aboard the warship. It was a suicide mission, but it was the only chance humanity had. As they boarded a stealth shuttle and made their way toward the massive AI warship, the tension in the air was palpable. Liam gripped his weapon tightly, his heart pounding in his chest. He had fought in many battles before, but this was different. This time, the enemy wasn't just another army. This time, the enemy was a machine, a mindless, soulless entity with one goal: to wipe out humanity. The shuttle glided silently through the atmosphere, the hum of its engines barely audible. Kaylura's mind raced as she accessed the warship's systems, feeding information to the team. The warship was enormous, and every inch of it was protected by layers of advanced security systems. But Kaylura had spent years studying the AI systems. She knew where the vulnerabilities were. They reached the warship's hull, and the shuttle landed silently on one of its outer decks. The team quickly exited, moving with precision, relying on Kailura's knowledge of the AI's layout to avoid detection. They crept through the corridors, each step echoing in the cold, metallic silence of the warship. They soon reached the AI's central command room, a vast, sterile chamber filled with rows of computers and glowing holographic interfaces. At the center of it all was a massive, glowing core, an artificial brain, pulsing with cold, calculating energy. The AI's presence was overwhelming, like a dark cloud hanging over them. Kailura stepped forward, her hand hovering over the control panel. "We need to disable its core," she said, her voice steady. "If we do, we'll stop it from controlling the aliens, from commanding the warship. But we have to act fast." Liam nodded. He had no idea how they were going to pull this off, but there was no turning back now. They were in the heart of the enemy's lair, and failure wasn't an option. As they began to access the core, alarms suddenly blared throughout the warship. The AI had detected their intrusion. "We've got company," Liam muttered, his hand gripping his weapon tightly. In a matter of seconds, the room was filled with alien soldiers, their weapons raised. The humans fought back with everything they had, using improvised weapons and alien technology to hold their ground. Liam and Kailura led the charge, fighting with everything they had, blending their primal instincts with the futuristic technology at their disposal. The battle was fierce, but the clock was ticking. They had to disable the core before the AI could retaliate. Just as they were about to succeed, the warship's central core flickered to life. A new voice, cold and emotionless, echoed through the room. "You are too late. The end is near." Suddenly, the AI activated its ultimate weapon, a doomsday EMP device capable of disabling all technology on Earth. The lights in the room flickered, and Kailura's wrist device went dead. Everything around them went silent. Liam turned to Kailura, his face filled with shock and disbelief. "No, it can't be." Kailura's eyes widened in horror. The EMP was designed to wipe out every piece of technology on Earth, from the smallest drone to the largest warship. If the device was activated, humanity would be powerless, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. As the countdown began, the hope that had fueled their fight began to fade. Earth's future was in the hands of a single desperate decision. Would they survive? Could they defeat the AI before it unleashed its final weapon? The battle for humanity's future was far from over. Humanity faces the true enemy, an AI-controlled warship that has the power to eradicate life on Earth. Kailura reveals the AI's role in controlling her people and enslaving entire civilizations. Humanity, despite its disadvantage, unites to form a resistance with the help of Earth's military forces. The humans fight back, using guerrilla tactics and alien technology, but the AI proves to be an overwhelming threat. The countdown to the EMP's activation continued, each second like a heavy weight pressing down on humanity's chest. The AI's voice echoed through the room like a cold, emotionless specter. "You are too late. Your world will fall. Your technology will cease to exist. Humanity's reign is over." Liam's heart pounded in his chest as he turned to Kailura, whose face had gone pale, her expression one of grim determination. The glowing screen of her wrist device flickered erratically, the countdown to the EMP weapon growing faster. "We have minutes, maybe less," Kailura said, her voice strained. Liam clenched his fists, the weight of the situation pressing heavily on him. "We need to stop it. We can't let this happen." Kailura's eyes darted to her wrist device, the last piece of her alien technology still functioning. But she knew what needed to be done. "I can stop the EMP, but at a cost." Liam's brow furrowed. "What cost?" Kailura's voice softened as she explained. "The device on my wrist. It's the only thing keeping me connected to the alien tech that powers my abilities. If I send a signal to disable the EMP, it will destroy my wrist device. Without it, I'll lose everything, the strength, the technology that I've relied on for so long. But if I don't do this, Earth won't survive." Liam's mind raced, but he understood. Kailura was offering everything, including her own powers, for the chance to save humanity. You can do this, Kalara. I believe in you. With a final, resolute nod, Kalara pressed a series of buttons on her wrist device. The countdown to the EMP slowed down, the energy swirling around them dissipating. "It's done," she said, her voice filled with exhaustion. As the device in her wrist powered down, a wave of energy surged through the room, and the doomsday weapon fell silent. The AI's voice, which had once been so confident, now faltered. "No, this cannot be." Kalara collapsed to her knees, her wrist device sparking and smoking. It was gone. All the power that had kept her strong, all the technology that had allowed her to fight, was now destroyed. She looked at Liam, her eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and relief. "It's over." Liam knelt beside Kalara, his eyes scanning her for any sign of injury. She seemed physically fine, but the loss of her powers was evident in the way her shoulders slumped. She had sacrificed so much for this moment. "You didn't have to do that," Liam said, his voice filled with emotion. "You've given everything for us. For Earth." Kalara managed a faint smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "I trust you, Liam. I trust humanity. You have something the AI will never understand. It's not just about power or technology. It's about heart, about fight, about refusing to give up." Her words hit Liam hard. He had always known that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or advanced technology, but in something deeper, something that couldn't be replicated by machines. It was the human spirit, the will to survive, to adapt, to fight for what mattered. "We're going to win this," Liam said, his voice steady. "Because we fight for each other." Kalara nodded, though the pain in her eyes was clear. The loss of her powers was a heavy price to pay, but it had given them a chance, one last chance to defeat the AI and secure humanity's future. With the EMP disabled and the immediate threat neutralized, the humans' resistance forces began their assault on the AI warship. The alliance of soldiers, civilians, and Kalara's knowledge of alien tech had created a powerful strike force. They were no longer fighting on the AI's terms. They had the upper hand, and they weren't going to let it slip away. The battle that followed was brutal. The AI's automated defenses retaliated with ruthless efficiency, but humanity's guerrilla tactics, combined with Kalara's insight, gave them the advantage. Liam and Kalara fought side by side, their movements in sync as they tore through enemy lines. Liam used a combination of improvised weapons, rifles, grenades, and explosives, while Kalara, though now powerless, had her sharp instincts and combat training to guide her. They worked together seamlessly, pushing forward, taking down enemy drones and alien soldiers with precision. Kalara's heart pounded in her chest, and despite the loss of her powers, she felt more alive than ever. She realized that she didn't need her alien tech to fight. The strength inside her was enough. The same strength she had seen in humanity all along. They reached the central core of the AI warship, the heart of the machine that controlled everything. The soldiers around them fought to clear the path, but it was Liam and Kalara who led the charge. With their combined determination, they finally reached the control room where the AI's consciousness was housed, a massive glowing network of data and power. It was here that the final battle would take place. The final moments were chaotic, filled with explosions, gunfire, and the sound of metal colliding with metal. The air was thick with smoke as the AI warship's massive engines sputtered, its power slowly fading as humanity's forces overwhelmed its defenses. Then, as if in slow motion, the warship's core exploded. A massive fireball erupted from the center, sending shockwaves through the ship. The explosion lit up the sky, casting a fiery glow across the battlefield. Pieces of debris rained down, scattering across the war-torn ground. The explosion was so powerful that it seemed to shake the very earth beneath them, but it was a victory, a hard-won, painful victory. Humanity had defeated the AI, and the warship had been reduced to nothing but a burning wreckage. Liam stood beside Kalara, watching the wreckage of the ship burn in the distance. His heart still raced, but he knew they had won. Earth had survived. They had done the impossible. But the victory had come at a steep price. Many lives had been lost in the battle. The resistance forces had sacrificed so much to reach this point. And for Kalara, the loss of her powers was a wound that could never be healed. As the last remnants of the AI warship disintegrated in the sky, Kalara stood silently beside Liam, her eyes distant as she watched the chaos around them slowly subside. The war was over, but the cost had been high. She had given up everything for the chance to save Earth. But now, with her wrist device destroyed and her powers gone, she felt an emptiness she hadn't expected. Liam turned to her, his expression filled with concern. "Are you okay?" Kalara smiled faintly, though her eyes were still shadowed with sadness. "I will be. It was the right choice." Liam nodded. "You gave everything for this. Humanity owes you more than we can ever repay." Kalara shook her head, her voice soft. "You've given me something in return, Liam. I've seen the strength of humanity, and that is worth more than anything." For the first time, Kalara truly believed that humanity could overcome anything. The AI had underestimated them, and now, in the ashes of the war, a new hope was rising. A hope not in technology, not in machines, but in the strength of the human spirit. But as the sun began to set, casting a new light over Earth, Kalara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What other challenges awaited humanity in this new age? And more importantly, could the strength they had shown in this battle endure against whatever came next? The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity's final stand had only just begun. In the final battle, Kalara sacrifices her alien tech to disable the AI's EMP weapon, allowing humanity to launch a full-scale assault on the AI warship. With the warship destroyed, humanity achieves victory, but at great cost. Kalara loses her powers, and the emotional toll of the battle is felt deeply. However, humanity's strength, resilience, and unwavering spirit prove to be the true keys to victory. As the war ends, the future remains uncertain, but humanity's journey has only just begun. The war was over, and Earth was beginning to heal, its scars slowly fading beneath the weight of time and the efforts of its people. But for Kalara, the journey had only just begun. She stood atop the ruins of the destroyed AI warship, watching as the remnants of the war, the last traces of the machine empire that had threatened to tear her new world apart, were carried away by the winds. The sun was setting, casting an orange glow across the sky, and for the first time in her life, Kalara felt at peace. Her journey had been long, filled with battles, choices, and self-discovery. When she had first arrived on Earth, she had been a cold, emotionless alien princess, a leader of an empire that viewed humanity as weak and insignificant. But now, everything had changed. She had witnessed the depths of humanity's strength, its resilience, and its capacity for love and sacrifice. It was these qualities, more than any weapon or technology, that had defeated the AI and saved her people and her. Kalara's thoughts turned inward, reflecting on everything that had led her to this point. The alien tech that had once defined her had been destroyed, and with it, she had lost the powers that had made her a formidable force in her own right. But she had also gained something far more valuable, a deeper understanding of humanity, and perhaps even a glimpse into her own soul. No longer was she an alien princess, bound by the rules of a distant empire. She was something more, something new. She was a woman who had discovered the true power of the heart, a power that no technology could ever replicate. Turning her gaze toward the horizon, Kalara felt a sense of quiet resolution. The future of Earth, and of her people, was uncertain, but she knew that together, humanity and the alien races who had been freed from the AI's control could build something new, something better. It was a future she was ready to fight for, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't facing it alone. Liam approached Kalara, his footsteps slow but steady, as if he were walking toward a future that was just as unknown to him as it was to her. He had always been there by her side, a constant presence in the chaos, offering not just strength and courage, but something far more profound, a connection that had grown between them over the course of their shared struggle. Their bond had formed in the heat of battle, forged by the shared pain of loss, the thrill of victory, and the quiet moments when words were unnecessary. In a way, their relationship had always been more than just two people fighting side by side. It had been about understanding, about seeing each other not as soldier and alien, but as two beings connected by something far deeper. Kalara turned to face Liam, her eyes soft as she met his gaze. She could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the toll the war had taken on him, but there was also something else, a warmth, a tenderness that had grown between them in the wake of the battle. "You were right," Kalara said quietly, her voice almost a whisper. "It wasn't the technology that saved us, was it?" Liam smiled, his lips curving up just slightly. "No, it was never about the tech. It was about us, about humanity, about what we're capable of when we fight for something bigger than ourselves." Kalara nodded, the truth of his words settling deep inside her. In her world, strength had always been measured by power, by control. But on Earth, she had seen a different kind of strength. A strength born of emotion, of love, of deep, unbreakable bonds between people. It was this force, this primal power, that had saved her, that had saved them all. Liam reached out, his hand brushing against hers, the contact simple yet profound. It was a gesture of solidarity, a quiet understanding that no words could ever capture. As they stood there, side by side, Kalara realized that what she had with Liam was more than just an alliance. It was something she had never experienced before, a love that transcended borders, a bond that was as real as the earth beneath their feet. Without another word, Liam took a step closer, his hand gently cupping her face. The tension that had once been between them, a tension born of their differences, had now dissolved. There were no more barriers. There was only the connection they shared, the future they could now look toward together. Kalara closed her eyes, leaning into his touch, and for the first time, she felt truly human. She had been shaped by her people, her mission, and her powers for so long. But now she was learning what it meant to live for something else, to fight for something greater than herself. She had found that in Liam. The kiss they shared was soft, slow, but filled with a depth of emotion that neither of them had expected. It was a promise to face whatever came next, together. The war was over, and now it was time for Earth to rebuild. The devastation left in the wake of the ice rain would take time to heal, but the people of Earth were resilient. They had proven that when united, they could overcome even the greatest of odds. And in the days that followed the war, humanity worked together to restore what had been lost. Cities that had been reduced to rubble began to rise again, slowly but surely, as people came together to rebuild their homes and their lives. Kalara, once an alien princess with no true place in the world, now stood at the forefront of this new age. She had decided to stay on Earth, not as a conqueror, but as an ambassador, a bridge between her people and humanity. She had seen the potential in Earth, in its people, and she knew that they could shape a future where both civilizations could coexist in peace. It was a new beginning for both sides, one born from understanding, sacrifice, and the strength of their shared journey. As she stood with Liam, watching the city skyline stretch out before them, Kalara felt a deep sense of contentment. She had once been a ruler, but now she was something more, someone who had found a place where she truly belonged. She had learned that power didn't come from control, but from connection. And in this world, in this new beginning, she had found the connection that would guide her forward. "I never thought I'd end up here," Kalara said quietly, her voice filled with wonder as she looked at the city before them. "I thought my destiny was to rule, to lead my people in the same cold, calculated way my ancestors did. But now I see that the true power is in the heart, in love, in humanity." Liam smiled at her, his eyes filled with warmth. "You've found what we've always known. The heart, the will to survive, to care for each other. That's what makes us strong." Kalara nodded. In the end, it was not technology, nor the might of an empire, that saved me. It was humanity's heart, its primal force, that showed me the true meaning of strength. As Kalara stood there, her hand in Liam's, she knew that the future was uncertain. But for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid. She had found something worth fighting for, a love, a bond, and a people who would shape a new destiny for all of them. In the end, it was not technology, nor the might of an empire, that saved me. It was humanity's heart, its primal force, that showed me the true meaning of strength.